Someone in your circle says one thing and does another today, and you feel it before you can explain it. Maybe it is a friend who suddenly feels like more than a friend. Maybe it is a conversation that keeps almost happening but never quite lands. Venus is behind this, sitting in your house of friendships and future goals, and she is pulling in two very different directions at once. One angle wants to talk everything through with total honesty. The other wants to blur the lines until nobody has to say anything real. You are going to feel both today, and the way you handle that tension says more about your next few weeks than you might expect. Here is where it starts. The bigger picture. Today's chart centers on Venus, currently transiting your 11th house, the zone of friendships, group belonging, and long-term wishes. From here she is making two aspects that pull against each other. First, a trine to Pluto in your 3rd house of communication, which is a supportive, flowing connection. Pluto trines tend to bring depth without drama, so conversations today can go somewhere real without exploding into conflict. That is the gift. But Venus is also opposing Neptune, and Neptune sits in your 5th house, the house of romance, creativity, and pleasure. Oppositions create friction, and Neptune's specialty is fog. Wishful thinking, idealized crushes, blurred signals. So you have clarity available through one channel and confusion available through another, both active in the same relationship area of your chart on the same day. That is not a contradiction in the astrology. That is the actual lesson. Meanwhile, the moon is moving through Gemini today, lighting up your mind with curiosity and scattered fascination. You might find yourself interested in 5 different things at once, jumping from one idea to the next without settling. Vedic astrologers watching the moon's placement would frame this as a day for mental agility rather than deep focus, useful for gathering information but tricky for concentration. From the Western angle, this restlessness pairs strangely well with the Venus story, because it means you are primed to talk, question, and explore rather than sit quietly with a decision. There is also a quieter presence worth naming. Chiron, your teacher of unconventional healing, active in the background of your daily routine and work life. He does not show up as a doctor or a coach. He shows up as someone unexpected who has a lesson for you anyway. So here is the through line for the whole day. Venus wants you to open up. Neptune wants you to daydream instead. Pluto offers you a way to cut through the daydream if you are willing to be honest. And that pattern does not just affect your love life. It quietly shapes your money decisions, your family conversations, and even your travel plans today. Stay with this because the payoff comes together by the end. Love. This is where Venus's tug-of-war gets personal. If you have been thinking about turning a friendship into something more, or wondering whether to reach back out to someone from your past, today makes that pull stronger than usual. Venus in your 11th house naturally romanticizes your social circle, and her opposition to Neptune in your passion house adds a layer of soft focus fantasy to the whole thing. You might catch yourself imagining how a moment could unfold rather than noticing how it is actually unfolding. Here is the honest question worth sitting with. Is this attraction about the person, or about the story you are telling yourself about the person? That is not a criticism. Neptune oppositions genuinely cloud judgment, even for people who consider themselves clear-headed. You may find someone's tone shifting warmer than usual, or a group chat suddenly feeling charged with unspoken meaning. It is real. It is just not fully clear yet. This is where the Pluto trine becomes your ally instead of your obstacle. Pluto in your 3rd house wants depth through conversation, not assumption. A direct, low-drama check-in about where things actually stand could save you from weeks of overthinking a signal that was never fully sent. If you are single, this is a day to notice who you are drawn to, but to ask rather than assume. If you are partnered, the same energy applies to a friend group dynamic or a conversation your partner has been avoiding. Say the honest thing before the fantasy version takes root. The unresolved question you brought into today is not whether the spark is real. It is whether you are willing to find out plainly instead of guessing. Career. That same instinct toward honest, curious dialogue extends naturally into your work life. Chiron's quiet presence in your routine and daily duties suggests you may be nudged toward an unconventional teacher today, someone who does not look like a typical mentor but ends up shifting how you approach your responsibilities. If you are employed, this could mean permission to experiment with how you structure your day rather than following the usual script. If you are between jobs, retired, or managing a household, The same energy invites you to treat your routine as something worth redesigning rather than simply enduring. The Gemini moon adds mental restlessness here too, which can be double-edged. You may find it hard to concentrate on one task when your mind wants to explore three others. Rather than fighting that, use it. Let the scattered energy generate ideas in the morning, then use the steadier Pluto-Venus depth later in the day to commit to one. The window between 2 and 4 in the afternoon carries a particularly favorable charge today, worth protecting for a decision or a conversation that matters. Money. The same clarity versus fog pattern from your love life shows up again here, just in a different costume. Neptune's fog can make a purchase feel more urgent or exciting than it actually is, especially anything tied to status or image, like a vehicle. If you have been eyeing a big purchase, today favors patience over impulse. Put it off, not because the desire is not real, but because Neptune's influence right now makes it hard to see the full picture clearly. Instead, redirect that curious Gemini energy toward your actual finances. A small financial gain is possible today, and it tends to favor people who take the time to actually look at numbers rather than assume everything is fine. This connects back to the honesty theme running through the whole day. Just as a candid conversation clears up romantic confusion, a candid look at your spending clears up financial confusion. Both are about resisting the temptation to stay comfortably vague. Health. Here is the detail worth paying closest attention to today. Your mood may swing more than usual, shifting quickly between enthusiasm and irritability, and it is easy to assume something is wrong when really it is just the Gemini moon stirring your thoughts faster than your body can settle. That mismatch between a racing mind and an unsettled body is often where headaches and tensions start. Staying hydrated and getting enough rest is not a throwaway suggestion today. It is the practical antidote to a very specific kind of overstimulation. There is also an emotional layer worth naming honestly. Chiron's presence around your routine suggests healing does not always arrive in the form you expect. It might not be a doctor or a trainer. It could be an offhand comment from someone unexpected that reframes how you think about your own well-being. Stay open to that. If a Vedic practitioner or astrologer suggests planetary remedies for stress or restlessness, know that certain recommendations, particularly specific gemstones, genuinely require a full birth chart analysis rather than a blanket suggestion for every Sagittarius. Safer, universal options include wearing supportive colors, spending time outdoors, or simple grounding practices like journaling when your thoughts start to scatter. Speaking of color, white carries a particularly favorable charge for you today, worth keeping in mind as you get dressed. Home and family. The emotional weather at home may feel a little disconnected today, and it is not because anything is fundamentally wrong. It is because your mood is genuinely harder to pin down than usual, and family members who are used to reading you clearly may feel like they are missing something. Give them a little time rather than forcing a conversation to resolve immediately. This is the same patience that serves you well in your love life today, applied to a different relationship. On the friendship side, this is actually one of the day's brighter threads. Venus and Pluto's trine supports open, flexible conversations with your social circle, the kind where laughter loosens a rigid plan and something easier emerges in its place. If you have been trying to coordinate plans with friends, a walking conversation or a casual voice note tends to work better today than a formal back and forth. Let the tone stay light. If someone pushes you for an immediate decision, it is fine to acknowledge what you agree on and set a short follow-up rather than forcing closure right now. The open question can breathe a little longer without becoming a problem. Travel and spirit. That same open, exploratory mood extends outward today, and a place like Berlin might genuinely cross your mind as you think about future travel. There is no urgency here, just a pull worth noting, especially since Sagittarius energy naturally expands toward the unfamiliar. This is also a favorable day for learning something new, whether that is a language, a skill, or simply a different way of thinking about a familiar problem. The Gemini moon's curiosity is an asset here rather than a distraction, as long as you let yourself follow it without demanding an immediate destination. There is a quieter spiritual note underneath all of this. The whole day has been about the gap between what feels true and what is actually true, whether that shows up in a relationship, a purchase, or a mood. Recognizing that gap, rather than rushing to close it, is its own kind of growth. Sometimes the most honest spiritual practice today is not a ritual at all. It is simply pausing before you interpret a feeling as a fact. Lucky signs. White stands out as your fortunate color today, worth wearing if you want to lean into the day's more grounded, clear-headed energy. The window between 2 and 4 in the afternoon holds particularly favorable timing, useful for a conversation or decision you have been putting off. Romantically, an unexpected connection with a Libra may feel especially easy or interesting if you are single. And if a small financial gain does come your way today, treat it as a nudge to keep paying attention rather than a sign to relax your budget completely. Today's guidance. By now, the thread running through your whole day should feel clear. Venus keeps offering you two paths, one toward honest connection and one toward comfortable fantasy. And that choice does not just live in your love life. It shows up in whether you actually look at your finances or avoid them, whether you name a feeling to your family or let it sit unspoken, and whether you chase a daydream about someone or simply ask them where they stand. The Pluto trine is your quiet advantage today, a reminder that depth does not require drama, just willingness. Use the scattered curiosity of the Gemini moon to explore, then use that steadier honesty to choose. What felt like confusion at the start of today may turn out to be an invitation to see something more clearly than you have in a while. That is the real shift. And it is one you get to decide what to do with, starting right now.